out and yell.
It's time to meet your maker.
Wow. Look at the star-studded.
Star-studded cast.
This could be the most screens we've ever had on at one time.
I think so.
You know, I'm kind of glad that Paul didn't make it. It would have been odd.
It would have been right. There would have been one on the bottom, which would have been
I think we would have left his camera off anyway.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna have Mickey Peg on today.
Yeah, that was another Coop. That was another not Coop. Sorry, Coop. That was another Paul screw up.
I was really excited to talk All Saints today.
The best part of this is, listen to me. When Mickey was decided to come on, I started a text thread. Me, Paul, and Mickey, and it started. Hey, Paul, Mickey would like to come on our show February 12th. And then Paul's like, great, I'll get in touch with you. I'll schedule it. And then in that same thread, he starts saying, hey, Mick, are you coming on this Saturday? Like right below where he confirms it's the 12th.
Dude, I told you, I even said something earlier in the week. I thought it was a year in review.
Yeah, Alex said, just went over my head. But Alex, when I had not, because, he puts a recap. He got it right this week, Mickey Peg. Well, he puts, a thing at the bottom who's on next week. So next week I just read it off. And Alex said to me, like, aren't we doing the year in review with the guys? And I'm like, yeah. I just didn't think that he had the weeks messed up. I just went all over my head. Look at Matt and Garret. Garret, you guys are looking a little chilly over there. Is it cold by you guys?
I mean, it was 2.
No, it's 70 degrees in the studio here, but outside it's 2 Fahrenheit.
2. It's 2.
It's 2 degrees?
Balmy.
Yes.
You can't have just 2.
Balmy 2.
Balmy
Movie,
2.
Anybody?
It was minus 16 when we flew to TPE.
Movie reference? Nobody? Damn it.
Now, everybody in this room went to TPE except Coop, correct?
Correct.
Yep, we were there.
You feel left out, don't you, this year?
No. Yeah, no. I missed everyone out there.
Oh, I heard the remorse in your comments last week.
Well, I mean,
Right.
I don't lie. I said I probably should have went. But I'll say this, I'll just say it right up. I still think PCA on its worst day is still more impactful than TP on its best day. I haven't seen that yet.
That's one to start with.
Oh, yeah, that is a good one to start. So let's start with the man who had to wake up the earliest, but was on here the first. And that's Master Sensei himself. Eric from Cigar Dojo. What do you think about that comment he just made?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you would define impactful. I mean, I guess as far as the premium cigar industry goes, new releases, news, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the PCA is still way more impactful. Coop's right about that. And from Coop's perspective, being like more focused on news, he's 100% right about that. TPE, on the other hand, it's still like a real trade show. There's buzz and excitement. It's more, getting together, people talking, laughing, having fun. There's not a lot of new product, but it's a great event. It's shorter. So for us, being the dojo, that we don't really focus on news that much. We're more like lifestyle kind of stuff. It was a great show, but I think Coop is probably right when he says that.
Matt? Sorry, Tabacco.
We
got a lot of names out. We got a lot of names in the room.
I hesitated. No, I mean, I would agree. I think PCA is still the number one show. I think it's the bigger show, the more important show, especially considering what it's mostly for, which I think some people forget sometimes. TPA is definitely like Eric was saying, it's still a legit trade show. Talking with some manufacturers who both went and didn't go this past week. The general consensus is that the show is going to continue to get bigger and more involved. You'll probably see a lot more manufacturers as the years go on. Just the cigar section, although it's a section of the entire trade show with all the plus side of the Tobacco Plus Expo. I think you'll see that cigar section continue to grow and get bigger. I think as it gets bigger, more and more people are like, all right, let's get in on this. It's kind of what I feel from conversations I've had with some manufacturers. But I still, I still feel that PCA is still, that more for our industry, more important show.
I feel like you were there for the extended stay, Matt. Were you there? Like,
so
did you get hung up? I mean, I feel like everybody was home and you were still taking pictures at the Venetian.
So at PCA or at
TPE?
Because I did both technically, but at PCA that was also our engagement celebration, so that's
Right.
a little different. TPE, I mean, the storm came up here into the Northeast, and it was either do we leave TPE early or do we wait it out? And so we were waiting, and then the airline was like, hey, so like that flight on Saturday ain't happening, so you could move it, no charge. And I was like, fuck it, let's stay longer. I mean, I'd rather stay and get the whole show than leave early. So yeah, I spent Championship Sunday in the sports book betting on Chiefs and the Niners, and I lost all that money.
Came out ahead. Huh?
Well, here's what I'll say about TPE. Between the two, TPE doesn't have an identity crisis. They're growing. And I am not in any way minimizing the importance, the amazing things that the PCA does whatsoever. I just know that PCA clearly has been going through some changes, from identity crisis, and that is causing obviously some bigger manufacturers and retailers to balk. While TPE, I don't think is necessarily a replacement, or people are replacing PCA with TPE, but it is making an impact on the industry. We saw that with the release of several brands that many of us weren't expecting to see at the show. So I mean, this is supposed to be a year in review show. We're talking about the TPE, which is this year, but it's a good topic. It's a hot topic. So I got you guys 4 on, so this is actually good. Because look, I'm a traditionalist, so even though I'm not thrilled with the direction and the accomplishment and maybe some of the things that the PCA is doing, I'm just still. I don't think our industry should be the plus of an expo.
I
Because
agree.
that's what we are at the TPA. We're the plus. I mean, let's be real.
It's the smallest section.
Well, we're the plus. I mean, we're the add-on because it really wasn't made for us.
Yeah.
And then also, I think in the eyes of governmental regulation and trying to continually say that we're not part of that industry, right? And because that's been the basis of our argument from day one, right? We're not mass market. We don't go to children's. Our stuff is handmade, whatever. And yet then we affiliate ourselves in an expo that's pretty much for that kind of stuff. For me, my universe would be simplified if there was just one trade show. I don't know what the need for 2 is, but TP just seems to be getting more popular. So let me ask you guys, do you see a need for a second show? I mean, I don't care which it is, whether it's PCA or TPE, but is really one providing anything that the other isn't of any significance?
Yes.
Go ahead, Matt.
Right.
What's your take?
So
Matt?
they're very different animals. They're different organizations. They're different shows. And
I get it, Matt. But what is one doing? What are the in just regards to our segment of the industry, right? As a premium cigar guy, as a guy who's in this industry, what am I getting at TPE that I wouldn't get at PCA?
For premium cigar retailers, strictly like yourself, strictly premium cigar retailers, nothing. You
That's
don't gain
point.
anything by going to TPE. But for the multi-tiered type retailers, head shops, that kind of thing, who we talked to quite a few this year and last year's TPE, who are year over year expanding their square footage of premium cigars in their stores and taking some space away from glass pipes, vape, something like that, because they're seeing so much of a sales increase in premium cigars.
Yeah, Matt's making the great point, because you have a ton of stores. I won't mention any names, but some big, huge chains that are known really well in the cigar industry, and they, premium cigars represents about the same footprint in their stores as premium cigars do in TPE. So they can go to TPE and buy everything. For them, PCA isn't probably a great show. It's just premium cigars. So they're only getting like 25% of the product that they need to buy it for their store. TPE is great. They go in there, boom, they can do it one shot.
I know, but Eric, you talk about catering to a very, like, maybe on 3 fingers I can count who that accommodates organizations. I can count on one hand how many organizations at that level that accommodates. Now, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, look, the model of the TPE is probably great for those kind of companies and whatnot, right? But there's like kind of a movement that I'm feeling or seeing out there that's trying to make the TPE this legitimized premium cigar show. Now, the TPE was what it kind of really pretty much always been, a complete tobacco expo that had a premium cigar division. That's one thing. But I'm seeing like this thing of it's really trying to build on becoming like a premium cigar show or more of a premium cigar show, which, I don't know how that works out. I don't think there's room for 2. I really don't. Does anybody in this room, in this panel, believe there's room for two real premium cigar shows a year?
Well, Abe, let me go a step further. PCA has been talking about they're possibly looking at regional shows. So PCA is thinking, which I don't agree with them going with that approach, by the way. So they're talking about doing.
Wait till 1 year of doing the logistics of putting that together.
I don't think they'll be on the same scale, but your point, Abe, 100% right. And here's the other thing that TPE hasn't addressed, and they're growing as a show, but they have the same problem that PCA has, and no one beats TPE or the manufacturers about. They should say they're getting the deals are being offered, just like PCA. So eventually, I think that's going to come up and bite TPE as it grows. It's going to reach a point where, you know what, they're going to be battling the same issue of the manufacturers offering these deals.
In response to Colonel Sheehan, I don't think I need to attend to TPE to speak about it, because I'm not speaking about its performance or operations or how it was in an event, because then I would have to be there. I'm speaking about philosophically the necessity of another show. So no, Kevin, I don't need to go there to talk about what I'm talking about right now.
I just want to think out loud, just as a layman, real quick. I mean, from a manufacturer standpoint, right? Wouldn't TPE give me the better exposure to people outside of?
Depends what kind of manufacturer you are.
Why?
Padron doesn't want their stuff in a lot of those kind of stores. I'm pretty sure probably, there's a lot of guys who don't want their product on that level store and in some of those level stores.
Well, but they don't have to open those accounts. But then the same guys that are, jerking each other off at the PCA can get those same TPE deals, or what they do or don't do. I don't know. I'm just, from a exposure standpoint, seems like maybe I can get some of those outliers who are not necessarily going to be at the PCA. From a manufacturer standpoint, coming from a layman, I've never been to a trade show. I don't know.
10 to probably even 5 years ago, many of these C shops were purely wholesaler only. That's where they were focused, is getting their cigars from wholesalers. And now we're starting to see them expand their humidors, get more involved in the cigar industry. And I have to ask the question, why is that a bad thing? And why is the TPE, questioning whether the cigar should be such a big part of that, when this is a great thing for our industry? I think this is a place where not our normal demographic gets introduced to premium cigars. It is a totally different demographic than the PCA. It's a different show altogether. And I think it's reaching an audience that wouldn't normally be be reached in other avenues. And for these C shops to go directly to manufacturer, I think is a huge win instead of using wholesalers.
I mean, think back even 5 years. Can you imagine a head shop having an in-store premium cigar event for a brand? That's happening now. We've been to them in multiple states at these types of shops. I cannot imagine that happening 5 years ago. Maybe 5, definitely not 10.
Now, to Garrett's point, what's really cool is, they had this big industry party. So you have all these, different representatives from these different types of products, right? Thousands. I don't know how many people were there, 1,000, whatever it was, but the entire party is sponsored by Drew Estate. It's like we were representing the industry, the entire trade show. Our little portion, Premium Cigars, we were the ones. It seemed like we were almost like hosting all these people. It seemed like great exposure.
Yeah, and to add, well, sorry,
I was just going to say, Drew Estate is probably one of the people in the premium cigar side who's most penetrated in the C stores.
Right.
They got cigars at Costco. So, I mean, it's not that they're not that foreign to the whole C and B store market.
What was interesting about that party, though, too, and I think Matt and Garret talked about it when they were on with Coop last week. Someone brought it up. I can't remember where it got brought up, but at that party, Drew Estate obviously did sponsor it. They're handing out Acid 20s, Undercrown 10s, and it wasn't just the cigar industry at that party. Everybody was there. So you saw a lot of people from the other industries partaking in these premium cigars that maybe were new to them, that was like, I'm not a cigar smoker. I'm a vapor, or, I do CBD, but, there's cigars here. They're handing them out. Well, I'll try them. So it was like, that party was interesting because it was getting everyone together in the social environment and getting non-cigar smokers maybe to dabble a little bit, get to know the industry a little bit, try it out for themselves, which I thought it's a small piece, but it was an interesting piece to the events of that week.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-TPE, if that's what anybody here is getting out of this conversation at all. I just don't believe this. Look, most big industries, and we're not a big industry, premium side, without a doubt. Most big industries can't handle really more than one major show. There's always some ancillary stuff, but I mean, we're real small. My argument is there really room for shows that are 4 or 5 months apart that's catering to the same audience and wants to? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm never going to go to
catering to the same audience.
What?
They're different audiences.
Yeah, I agree. They're different audiences.
There are some overlap, but the demographic and they're totally different.
I get that, and they've always been different. But what I'm saying is that it's slowly evolving into more and more of the same audience. So while
they're going after this audience, Abe.
Right.
This
is my point. They're going after the premium cigar side. So while you have, look, in essence, you're going to have 2 premium cigar shows, but one has other stuff there. My question is just from the premium cigar side, because at the end of the day, that's all I worry about.
Yeah.
Right? I don't give a shit about the other shit. I don't. I mean, nothing against it. It just doesn't affect my universe. I don't partake in that kind of stuff. I don't sell that kind of stuff. So it doesn't directly affect me in any way other than legislation, which we'll talk about in a second. But is there enough to support it? I personally don't think so. I'm always going to go to one show, and it's going to be the show that's most beneficial for my organization, whether it's the TPE or the PCA. If I go to any at all, I can't see myself going to more than one of them a year. I don't need the party and the write-off. What was that?
So let me ask you this. What if we start to see the trend of TPE being more popular to release new lines, and we start seeing show deals at TPE and PCA?
I just started saying I'll go to the one that I feel is the most beneficial to my organization. That's the one I'll end up going to. I mean, look, I partook in TPE shows. I had to leave my office. So, I'm not going to do 2 trips a year. But on a legislative note, as a guy who spent time walking the halls of DC relentlessly and most time in vain, do you not? I mean, because look, this affects my livelihood more than it affects your livelihood. Every time we have some stupid government regulation or we get lumped into some bill, it's directly going after that other market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as our argument and in the many positions that we've tried to differentiate ourselves, whether it be by the definition of what a premium cigar is, price point, et cetera, all I know is as far back as I can remember, one of our positions is how do we differentiate ourselves? Because we keep getting lumped in when other segments of our industry get attacked. Does not our involvement in the TPE as a premium cigar industry directly conflict with that mission statement?
You know, Abe, the industry's selective on this, is what I'll just say. Just remember,
Well, I know some don't care, like alternate, but that have businesses on both sides.
But they always say it's not them, right? Think about it, but it's selective, right? Go back 4 or 5 years ago. These folks were at the PCA trade show. We had alternatives at the trade show. Everyone wanted them out, right? So, and the PCA, I think, wanted to separate from them. So I give the PCA credit for separating. But a lot of these same companies, right, that are maybe want to separate from this other stuff, what do? They're doing other things to throw in the face of the FDA right now. And that's come up a lot this week. And, with the whole food cigars and characters and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I think these companies are very selective on this when it comes to this.
I understand these companies. I want all 4 of your personal opinions on this. Because, Eric's probably the most liberal, or not liberal, but, what's your take on it? Because do you not think that this hurts that position that we've come from for many, many years of saying that this is not the industry we are? We're a different industry.
Yeah, I would say that what you might call my position as being liberal, I would call it.
That was a little bit of an overextend. Sorry.
I would call it a conservative position, in that we, as an entire industry, the tobacco industry, that includes any tobacco products, should be banding together to fight the FDA. I don't like this idea of, well, let's not associate ourselves with this tobacco product because we think that the FDA doesn't like it, and if we're associated with it, it'll hurt our cause. We should say, screw that. We're fighting for freedom and liberty regardless of what the tobacco product is. We give these battles away too easily. It's like, oh, flavored cigars, PCA, flavored cigars. Let's just push flavored cigar. Well, guess what? All the retailers out there that sell a zillion acids, they're going, what are you talking? Why aren't you fighting for this? I sell more acids in my lounge by far than any other product. And you're just going to throw that away because you're worried that the FDA is going to lump that in. And now maybe if we just keep it premium cigars, we'll be okay. And if we just keep it this pure thing.
Eric, so historically, Big Tobacco has literally fought against stuff that would benefit premium cigar industry. So, I think the problem, in a utopic sense, why can't we all fight together? But at the end of the day, these are two distinctly separate types of industries that have interests that doesn't always align. I think that's the problem. The other problem is that you have to remember, one of the main issues and standing points that the tobacco industry gets attacked and has been attacked, the laws have changed it, is how it's directed to the youth and marketing to the youth and getting young people on tobacco early. Well, one of the differentiating factors for premium cigars, which is now getting more and more blurred over the years, is look, you can walk into a 7-Eleven, as an 8-year-old, get a Slurpee and then be exposed to a whole bunch of tobacco, right? But 7 and 8-year-olds aren't walking into premium cigar shops across the country. Our product, honestly, for the most part, until a lot of these packs are being developed and now it's getting more and more blended, which once again goes against that principle. But our product, say 10 years ago, kids were not being exposed to our product on any level. And that was a very strong differentiating factor as far as when I sat in senators' office trying to talk about how premium cigars don't fall into that area of exposing underage people to our product. But that's now getting blurred too.
All of these products have age restrictions wherever you buy them. I get that. What I'm saying is that because just like think about the PCA show, it wasn't that long ago. There was vape products, there was hookah, there was all this other sort of stuff.
Yep.
And that show was a vibrant bustling show with tons of people attending, and it was fun. As soon as they cut that out, as soon as that ended, and it just became the premium cigar guys, the show has been dying ever since. So
this is an interesting point then Eric just makes that I'll open up to the other three guests we have here. Eric feels that the PCA should be open to all industries of tobacco like the TPE, right? You feel they'd be better off for that, right, Eric?
now I would say CBD and that kind of stuff, which isn't really.
Well, where do you draw the line now?
It's
Is
not
CBD
tobacco.
a problem?
I draw the line.
Is
I draw the line at
problem?
tobacco. I draw
Eric's
the line
right.
at tobacco.
No, Eric's
Tobacco.
right. I mean, you got hookah tobacco, but then you got these gummies and CBD and Delta 8 and Kratom and all that other crap.
That's not tobacco.
That's not tobacco. So I agree with Eric on that one too.
It seems like such an easy line to make, right? Like you have tobacco and
I
you have
think
not
there's,
tobacco.
we need to. Yeah, we need to. I mean, I think everyone on this panel would agree that you can't tax away moral decisions, and that's what government is trying to do with, cigarettes or anything else that they're trying to regulate is by taxation, and that is just, in my opinion, bad legislation. And do we have a lot of common allies in that? Yes. Do I think they should all be in the same show? Not necessarily. And so while we, yes, have a lot of brothers and sisters who feel like our fight is against this, let adults be adults and we should all enjoy what we can enjoy. But to be specific, I think the fight for premium cigars is different than the fight for other tobacco products. That being said, I do think that there can be some, you can join in some efforts there, but at the end of the day, it's politics, and who you buddy up with doesn't always work in Washington.
So here's a perfect example. They're two distinctly different products. So there was a time where they were trying to tax by weight. So to give you an example, if you're trying to tax by weight, the mass market industry loves this concept, right? Because every one of these is probably 10 of their cigarillos or the smaller cigars, which they mostly dominate, sell machine-made, later weighted product. So obviously that would adversely affect the premium cigar industry way more. So, and this is the problem where we get into fights because they're two distinctly different products. And when taxation really, and just so anybody out there who listening doesn't know, the premium cigar industry is probably less than 2% of the overall tobacco industry, or right around 2 or 3%. I'm sure Matt Ty is going to correct me here. I see him doing the math in his head.
No, it is it's 1.019% somewhere
So
in
not
that
even
neighborhood.
not even close to 2%. So yeah, I've always heard it's less. What we sell this is less than 2% of the whole tobacco industry. Just to put this in perspective, we are nothing. I mean, as far as the whole relative tobacco industry is concerned, and we are probably without a doubt the poorest segment of the tobacco industry. So how do you create a universe, Eric, where they fight together when it's so unbalanced? Because the 99% don't really give a crap about the 1%.
Well, also I know if I was on the playground and there was 100 dudes and I was the only guy like me and we were all in some sort of fight, I'd want to get the 99% of the guys on my side and help me fight. I don't want to.
That's great.
I don't want to be the only guy.
When it's not into their best interest. I mean, look, we've all seen the movies. Let's face it, man. You guys know how cutthroat big tobacco is. They are relentless and ruthless. This is, I mean, it's not hidden facts. So you want big tobacco to be like, oh, come here, little Eric. We know you don't represent nothing else, but we're going to take care of you, and we're going to make sure nobody beats up on you, little Eric. It's not going to happen.
Hey, man, I got to have my own little corner, but I also want some allies. That's all I'm saying.
Abe, go back to your point on the two shows, right, for a second. I think this ties into what you're saying. You got to understand PCA, okay, as an organization, they made a strategic decision a few years ago that they're separating from this stuff, right? So in reality, That's why that stuff's not at the show anymore, right? I think that's the main reason, and they were willing to kind of sacrifice, which I think Eric made a lot of valid points. It did add a lot of energy to the show, but they made that sacrifice there.
I think bad for the show, better
Bad
for
for the
the
show,
fight.
but how stupid would they have looked if they had continued to have those types of things at the trade show I think they had to make that separation because there was a point we were reaching where we had to do that for survival. So I think that was important. Now, the other point is they still, a lot of the same companies are turning around now and going to TPE. And that's why I'm like, well, I don't quite understand it. Either you're on one side or the other,
The dollars.
Yep.
Can I
The
make a
dollars.
Yep.
Can I
It's
make a
very
point
hard
also?
to make philosophical and moral and long-term decisions when there's money involved. Alex,
Yep.
I know you look like you've been trying to squeeze something
Yeah,
in.
no, I just maybe a philosophical thought. I still look at cigars as a luxury product, right? Among other luxury products that we think of out there. And when I think of shows, right? Like, Louis Vuitton doesn't do a fashion show featuring Target's line within their fashion show.
Yep.
Because it dummies down the brand. Now, I understand we can find, these cigars in the gas stations and whatnot of the world that we also find in these luxury shops. But, I can also find a polo shirt at TJ Maxx, but I'm not going to find a TJ Maxx brand in the Ralph Lauren store. So, I mean, mixing this group, does it kind of dummy down the image of cigars as a luxury product? Is that what we want? I don't know.
Unfortunately, Alex, I see some
Sorry, in a way, it does if the government's trying to make clothing illegal.
Can I make a point too? I was
If that
thinking
makes
about
any
this.
sense.
After
wait,
kinda
Coop. Go ahead. Coop had a point.
Okay, what I was going to say is, look, and if I start calling names out, it's going to really create a shitstorm. But
that's what you're known for, though.
But I'm not going to do it in this case. There are companies that I see positioning themselves
Name
as
names.
luxury products,
Name names.
and then they turn around and they put cigars out with like foul language and stuff. I don't get it. So it's like, what are you trying to do here? I mean, you're either going to play in one market or play in the other. But you can't put the same stuff on the same shelf, is what I'm saying.
Matt, what were you gonna say?
So I was thinking about what Eric was saying earlier about how there's the tobacco products, there's stuff at TPE, right? That's actually in no way, shape, or form a tobacco product, right? Like the CBD and the Delta 8 and all that other stuff. At some point, I think we all know marijuana becomes federally legal in the United States. It's not a question of if at this point. I think it's just when. I'd be curious to see when that happens, and
Is
much
that
more.
tobacco?
What?
Is that tobacco?
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm just asking.
No, I know, but that's kind of the point. Like, so when that happens, and much more can be done with that, right? Who's to say there can't be a separate show for marijuana, and CBD, and Delta 8, and all that other stuff that is not tobacco, to your point, Abe, in its own realm, and the tobacco stuff, even if it's just cigars and hookah and machine-made stuff and whatever that actually is tobacco, can remain at TPE. It's just tobacco, and all that other stuff can have its own show and kind of help further differentiate that blurred line that's been kind of talked about here today. With you have tobacco here, and you have you have cigars, and you have this, but then you have this other stuff that's really not tobacco too, and it all gets lumped into one show.
Well, you bring in a great point, because I have no idea what this horizon is going to be once and when marijuana becomes federally legal. Because right now they've just gone unscathed because the federal government doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? They really have no federal government regulation or interaction. So who knows what door that's going to open if it does ever become federally legal, as far as how involved they're going to be, how regulated they're going to be. Because right now we say, nobody goes after
I think people miss that point. I mean, if you think we have issues with FDA and regulations, wait till marijuana is federally
It's going to give the
it's
Alex,
going to make our problems look minimal compared to the stuff that they're going to bring down on that industry.
Alex, you're right. And here's the thing: the FDA is going to be looking for more things to do. What better way? Hey, they could just tackle this whole marijuana thing. So right now it looks like right now it looks like, hey, it's a double standard. But believe me, it's coming. Right? They're not going to let that lie. is what I'm saying. The FDA. That's what the bane
Jay.
of their existence.
Yeah,
Jay.
they're not just going to not regulate it.
Yeah.
Jay Davis, marijuana is a darling of the government only in the sense that the government sees the billions and trillions of money they can make off it. That's
all
why
money.
it's the darling of it.
100% right.
It's all about money.
They haven't geared
but
themselves
They
which
haven't
I'm
even touched
shocked,
it. Yeah.
to tap into that money yet. But
They're
when they have
smart.
the opportunity to say we could start making money off of marijuana, just like any other thing else, the government's going to use the shit out of that.
And when they collect more user fees from them than they can from the premium cigar industry, you'll suddenly see a prioritization happen with
Right. So let me explain to you something. Well, Jay probably knows. He's a retailer. You should know, right? The user fees depend on your volume.
Yep.
If premium cigars is 1% of the tobacco industry and marijuana comes in, what do you think the user fees are going to be? I mean, they're going to have unleashed wrath on them. And not like in a bad way. They're just going to look at every way to make a dime off it.
Yep.
The only thing that I would say is if it doesn't, when that happens, if it doesn't really create a divide and kind of separate into the marijuana category, it would really be bad to see marijuana come in as its own to like TPE, because then it becomes the tobacco and pot show, and then that really kind of
Marijuana is so big, they don't need to go to anybody's show, bro.
Yeah, I mean that's true
They're
too. But
going to have their own hemp show, man. Hemp show, 2023.
Yeah, they would have. They would have their own
Hemp
trade
fest.
show that would dwarf every other smokable products trade show.
Yeah.
As soon as they're allowed to be federally insured in their banking system, that industry is going to explode bigger than it is today, which is it's huge. But
there's an
for
article
most
that
of
came
these
out.
Does anybody know where they're storing all this cash? Because I'd like to know.
It's a good point.
I mean, they can't
They're
deposit.
Not at my house.
But seriously, I mean, this is like got to be
so
hundreds,
they're either private.
billions of dollars that they have to have hidden
I
somewhere.
believe that's a whole industry that's popped up. There's like private security firms that are storing
Correct.
cash.
So here in Massachusetts, marijuana is fully wide open, recreational, medical, as it is in Eric's home state of Colorado.
Yeah, but you can't put the money in the bank.
No, right. But what I was going to say was an article came out at the end of 2021 that Massachusetts had said for the first time since this has happened, their tax dollars on marijuana exceeded the tax on alcohol.
Holy
is
cow.
Insane.
Yeah.
And that's not even, and that's just where we are today. Imagine 50 states.
Wide open.
And that's just state tax because there's no.
Hey, wait,
That was
you-
the state tax on marijuana versus alcohol. Marijuana overtook alcohol,
Wait,
which is
you want to hear the beauty of all that, Matt? You'll still have freaking cities and states bankrupt.
it's true.
They'll find
Yes.
a way to steal and burn and waste the money.
Sad but true.
Yep.
Sad but true.
Let me ask a broader question on this topic. The PCA, I kind of see as like a sports team on the rebuild right now. You know, they're old. Well, maybe their old players are still there, but they're trying to rebuild the brand and rebuild the team. If not for the, I don't know if turmoil or crisis, but if not for the transitional phase or all the mixed emotions of the PCA, is TPE half the story it is right now? If the PCA was on the up and up?
I think the answer, Alex, is I'm kind of inclined to agree that they are, because it seemed like this push with TPE on the premium cigar and happened on the heels of the disaster of the 2019 trade show.
Well,
And it seemed like that's when the big push started happening. Hey, there's an opportunity here, and Kretek decided to seize it.
don't kid yourself, Coop. Those conversations were had before that announcement was made.
What? Oh, probably, but look, when
Yeah,
2019 happened, that was a disaster.
That strategically was designed and discussed before the announcement that they weren't going to partake in the PCA.
Okay, I'm not
They
talking about
already
the
made
big
an internal decision that we're going to go to TPE. We're going to spend our money on TPE. We're going to reach out to TPE, see what we could do, be more involved, and we're going to work on this show.
I'll agree with you
No, I
on
think
that
what
piece.
Coop's saying is that just the calamity that was the 2019 show, TPE saw that as an opportunity to say
It was, but it wasn't TPE, I think, that went after these guys and said, hey, come here, come to our show, leave there. It's just That was
Oh.
that was something in the brewing between those companies and the PCA long before that date.
Yeah, but I think there has been just this push in general with some of the smaller companies, and what I'm saying, where they've really been trying to open the doors up to these smaller companies. And like the Big Four stuff was all going on behind the scenes for a year or two beforehand, definitely, as far as that goes. So I think that there was something to do with it. And here's the thing: these two shows could say they don't compete with each other. PCA actually, a few days before TPE opened, reminded everyone that, hey, we're the only trade show that it's nonprofit. So there were little jabs being taken, and I'm sure
Shots were fired.
there's shots being fired, and people can ignore them all. That they were out there for public consumption. So
I think all three shows directly compete with each other: TPE, PCA, and TAA.
well, TA is not really a show, but
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
You're fighting for people.
it's a buying club. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Yeah,
They're fighting for retailer presence, the same retailer presence as far as the premium cigar is concerned. They're fighting for people money. There's only so much money to be spent go around, and where you spend your money affects which organization benefits and gets to use that money to keep rebuilding and growing. So if you don't think all three directly compete with each other, then there's a bridge I got to sell you.
yeah, no, you're right. I think there's a reason why TP is so early in the year. They want to get ahead of that TAA curve. So it's a chance to get the money at the beginning of the year.
On the bright side of these things, I think as far as the PCA is concerned, this little competition that you bring up, it's good for the PCA. They could learn from the TPE. TPE does some things really, really well. Like one of the things that they do is they make it extremely easy for small manufacturers to show up and sell their product. They have these, you can choose these common sort of areas where there's already a booth set up for you with your sticker of your brand up there. You show up with some product and you start selling. Like it's extremely cheap. Some of these guys with PCA, they're like, I don't even come close to making my money back on the show. Whereas with TPE, I can just show up, start doing orders for a very, very small amount of money. PCA should look at that and say, let's do something like that. So competition is good, as we all know. And in this case, PCA should look at TPA and what some of the things they're doing and copy it.
Well, in defense of that statement, Eric, some of the biggest problems in that venue is not the PCA, but it's the manufacturers themselves, right? For whatever reason, the manufacturers have got it in their heads that they can go to TPE without an ego, right? It's a no-frills show. They'll come with a smaller layout, smaller footprint. They don't care that it's much lower end looking. But for year after year and decade after decade, the PCA, they all keep striving for bigger footprints, more extravagant look.
I know. Let those guys do that, Abe. Let those guys do that.
But you understand, it's those same guys that go to the PCA with that mentality that go to the TPE and say it's okay. Because I don't know if in their head they're saying we're around a bunch of C stores and whatever. We don't need to look like this. But the same one that have really mega extraordinary looking stuff that they waste a lot of money on at the PCA will go and have a no frills booth at the TPE, which makes no sense to me.
But that's fine. I'm just saying, if the PCA offered these things, I think some of these small companies would take advantage of it, and you'd see more companies at PCA. Where, like last year, I mean, we walked in, we're at the company party, or at the party, and we looked over at the footprint of the show, and we were like, wow, that's it. Like that's the only companies that are here.
Where's the rest of it?
Where's the rest of it?
It was like a ghost town.
So based on that idea, Eric, and I want to ask you this and everybody this, do you think it's more beneficial for the PCA to have 10 small cigar companies that maybe have never been to PCA or have only gone once or twice? Is it more beneficial to the PCA as an organization to have 10 small premium cigar companies show up, or to have one of the big four show up?
Well, I think it's in the long run, they're going to have 10 small companies, because otherwise there's not even going to be a show.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be gone. There won't be a PCA if you keep losing these huge brands because they can't make their money back. Then, I mean, yeah, like money wise for that particular show, it might be better to have these massive booths for them. But in the long run, there won't be a PCA. So they have to have all of these manufacturers, all this choice, all this kind of stuff, so that more retailers come and say, hey, I can get like literally anything there. I got this new product, this new, drunk chicken cigar, whatever it is, right? Like you want to have that variety. You don't want to just go there and see, Altadis General, Davidoff, and Drew Estate. You need a lot more than that to make a trade show.
Eric made a good point about the small booths. And you know what I noticed at PCA last year was there was a lot of these really small little brands that like were banding together and sharing like one booth. Like there was these sections of like a booth where there was 3 different little small manufacturers.
And PCA has tried to kill that off.
I was going to say, they've tried to kill that in the past.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the question I say, and I'm going by what I saw 2 years ago, but I believe it was the same thing this year at TP. General like showed up with a card table, like for that booth, basically, right?
They did it at TPE, this year.
Okay, so if they showed up at a card table at PCA, I don't think it's going to have the same impact as if they showed up with their big booth. I just don't. I just don't think it's going to generate the same interest in that. So I don't know if it's if, having these guys show up at a card table. I don't think is the answer either.
No, but Coop, what I'm talking about at TPE, it's not a card table. It's a pretty cool. It's a cool like the Aganorsa HVC Crux.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about Big Four though. I know what you're saying. I'm talking
like a
about
little bodega.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I think TPE levels the playing field a little.
Yeah.
I eventually think that there'll be one of the two for the premium cigar side down the road. I just don't see one growing without at the expense of the other. I mean, for many, many years, the premium cigar was the premium cigar show and TP was that other show.
Right.
And there's a reason why it was that way. And if TP becomes more of that show, then I don't see a bright future for the PCA. So that's just my personal opinion. That closes our TPE hour of KMA Talk Radio. What a panel we got today. We got all the guys, our friends from the industry, talking about stuff. We're going to hit other cool stuff and actually maybe talk about some of the stuff in 2021 after the break. And we're going to do a Name That Jam powered by Avo Cigars, which is going to be real easy, boys. I apologize. I didn't have time this week to pick some new songs. But we're going to have a lot of cool stuff in hour 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. Keep it lit.
Surgeon General warning. Cigar smoking can cause lung cancer and heart disease. Currently available at your favorite cigar store, the Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real Nicaragua is another fantastic collaboration between AJ Fernandez and Rafael Nadal. Landing a #1 cigar of the year of 2020 by Cigar and Spirits magazine, the Reserva Real Nicaragua is handcrafted at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez. This Nicaraguan Puro is a medium to full-body cigar that is packed to the brim with flavor notes of leather, coffee, and red pepper, which pairs nicely with a spiced rum. Available in 4 sizes, Romeo y Julieta returned to prestigious form with the Reserva Real Nicaragua that should be enjoyed by all. Surgeon General warning. Cigar smoking can cause lung cancer and heart disease.
Hey, babe.
Yeah?
I'm almost out of wine and I want to order some online. Where should I order from this time?
KMAWines.com, of course.
KMAWines.com? What's that?
What's that? What's that? Hold on a second. Let me show you. You see, KMA has teamed up with Bonner Fine Wines to offer KMA listeners a fantastic deal on a Malbec 3-wine sampler. You see, here is their famous Malbec grown at an altitude of 8,950 feet. 3 wines from the edge of the world. An old French Malbec variety no longer found in Europe. These 3 wines, 200 years in the making, yours, KMA listeners, for 53% off. Normally $130, but like I said, KMA listeners get 53% off. That makes it $69.99. So what do you think?
I think we should order.
I agree. And done.
Honest Abe here, smoking cigars. It's that time of year again, the Great Smoke. For over a decade and a half, we've been hosting one of the country's biggest cigar bashes, where aficionados from all over the world would trek to South Florida for a 4-day extravaganza. In 2019, we themed our event for the first time, 70s disco, Can You Dig It? and it was one of the biggest events we ever had, and we look forward to the very next one. Unfortunately, the world was hit by a pandemic, and cigar events and functions were being canceled all over the country. Our team was poised with the question, what do we do? Do we cancel the event? Do we do a half-cocked event and just get by? No. Instead, we put on our thinking caps and put on one of the most epic 7-hour virtual events that was enjoyed by thousands and viewed by tens of thousands of people all over the world. Our event in 2021, the digital experience, forever changed how these types of events will be done. So this year, for the first time in 2022, the Great Smoke, the Last Luau, will be both an in-live and virtual event experience. We had hundreds of people who contacted us early this year telling us how much they enjoyed our virtual event this year, how they had never participated in one of these mega events because they were unable to take time off for work and travel and come down. So this year we're going out of our way so that people can enjoy the event in their own home as they did earlier this year, and also do it in live. Michael Herkotz of Ferio Tego Cigars and Kim Keeney will be returning in 2022 to reprise their roles as co-hosts for the Great Smoke. As we did earlier this year for the first time, we have worked with select manufacturers to make very limited TGS releases. We got Aganor Salif, Espinosa Cigars, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, Room 101, and ADV Cigars. They will each be making a very limited run of TGS edition cigars, exclusively to ticket holders for the Great Smoke. There will be a series of special virtual events between the end of November and the beginning of February, where all these TGS limited releases will be offered prior to the Great Smoke event. So you will need to get your ticket in advance to be eligible to get into the very special TGS virtual store to participate in these events prior to the Great Smoke date. As always this year, we're going to have a very special dinner hosted by the Red Meat Lovers Club and special guest Steve Saka from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. This is going to be a last luau feast like you've never seen before, and all attendees will get a very limited RML, it's Red Meat Lovers cigar, made by Steve Saka just for this event. So what do you have to do to participate? Go to thegreatsmoke.com, secure your ticket, which will get you the last luau party back. Now, whether you're virtual or coming live, everyone will get the same epic package. This is the most epic Great Smoke package we've ever made in the history of this event. Almost $450 worth of swag and 40 premium cigars that'll either be delivered to your door or handed to you the day of the event. As always, during the Great Smoke, we'll have mega raffles and prizes, and whether you're at home or there live in person, everyone who gets a ticket is automatically entered. The event dates are February 24th through February 27th, with the main event being February 26th. And whether you're there in person or live watching at home, we're going to have 5 special virtual sessions and interaction with what's going on in the event floor, so you can actually see what people and what things are going on as the event is happening. Tickets go on sale this Friday, November 12th, noon Eastern Standard Time. I urge everyone out there to get their tickets early. They'll let you participate in all the pre-virtual events we're going to have with the manufacturers who made limited releases, and it'll secure your ticket, because our feeling this will be the most epic year ever as far as ticket sales and how fast they'll go. To get your tickets and for more information, go to www.thegreatsmoke.com. The last luau, baby, because this will be the last luau you'll ever need to go to. Peace! Welcome back, everyone, to KMA Talk Radio. I just got to tell you, I'm watching that video. I remember making that recording, and all I can envision in my head is me going back in time with a baseball bat and beating the shit out of me and saying, don't do it, Birch, don't do it both. That's the truth. No, bad idea. So listen, I'm bringing this up now so we don't forget. Monday morning, we got to get Rivers. I'm going to say it's now, do a pop-up, because I just got 2 messages. People are thinking that, since the virtual is sold out, let me get the other ticket and they'll mail me the box. Doesn't work that way.
No.
So you need to make a pop-up saying if you buy a live ticket It's live. You have to go there and get your box. Otherwise, you will not get your box. It will not be converted to a virtual ticket. So there's going to be a couple guys calling. I just told them you got to call and cancel your ticket because you're not going to get it shipped. So we need to put a pop-up up there. But what a logistical nightmare this has been.
Yep.
Most of the problems, honestly, are caused by people trying to finagle because they've missed out on it and now are trying to, let me just get a live box and I'll ask them to ship it. No, it doesn't work that way. The boxes are being made. The rest of the boxes are going to be taken by people. So if you ain't there, we're selling the ticket to someone who's coming there.
Yep.
Lovely. I swear I'd beat myself up with a bat if I can go back in time. Right there during the making of the video.
Too late now.
Anyways,
we're on the road.
We got a star-studded cast today. Made the first hour blow by like in a
yes.
50. Let's
Quickly.
bring them on. We have Master Sensei from Cigar Dojo.
See if I got the right order.
Stupid Coop, Matt Tabacco from Smokin Tabacco, and the boys from How About That Cigar, Matt Ty, and Garret.
I just have to say one thing before we start. I'm highly jealous of all of you. I can see everybody behind the scenes when the commercials are running, and everybody got to do what I do not get to do today. Everybody scattered off to the bathroom or whatever they were doing, and I'm just here stuck with a pulsating bladder for the next hour.
I had to fix my camera. I looked like shit.
I gotta admit, I'm baffled at your timely bowel movements. Alex has like the bowel movements at the same time,
and
like
it's
literally every day.
Yeah. So kudos to you guys who got to run.
I don't get a bathroom break on my show. I have to hold it all in.
I do too, but Alex is the GOAT, so he's mastered it.
Yeah, I know, especially with this TGS commercial, gives me plenty of time.
The difference with Cigar Coop, though, is they run like 3.5, 4 hours. So, I mean, that's a long time to hold a bowel movement.
That is true. All right. So, before we get into all our good fun topics for hour two, we're going to run a little segment called Name That Jam, powered by our good friends over at Avo Cigars. And let's prop that up, Alex. All right, gentlemen, we are going to play a short snippet of a song. I'm pretty sure this week's going to be uber easy. We'll see which one of you guys get this first. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
Let's see if y'all who can name this jam.
Oh, come on. That one's easy.
Yeah.
They're all,
we're blurting it out. I mean,
yeah, blurt it out.
It's Rocking Like a Hurricane.
Like a Hurricane.
It's
So
one of my favorite songs of all time.
In my defense, I'm 99.9% sure. I haven't had time to go back and look, but that wasn't the 3 seconds I told him to pick out of the song, because obviously that's the probably easiest 3 seconds of the song.
We're gonna take
Shameless.
and get like 10. Nah, this isn't Paul. It's just tough. It's hard. We haven't had time. We need to take some time to get 10 well-known songs that are in a spot that isn't so recognizable.
To be fair, though, I mean, with the exception of myself, the rest of you guys are of an age bracket where you should know that. If there was a lot of younger people, they probably wouldn't know that song.
That's fair. That's true. That's true.
Well, the problem is the age bracket of our audience is probably in that right bracket.
Right.
Matt, you're younger than you're younger than one of my kids.
Oh my God, William, are you
28.
saying you're Matt's dad?
Could be,
I have a daughter older than Matt.
Oh my gosh.
No rumors, Abe. No rumors.
Who's the oldest person in this room? Would it be Master Sensei?
Long lost
Yes.
son.
Yeah, I think I beat Coop by a little bit.
Yeah, you want a little known fact here? Eric and I's firstborns have the same birthday. They're just Jordan's a little older than my daughter Kayla,
Oh wow.
but they have the February 17th.
So so Master Sensei is the eldest in the room. Who's the baby? Is it Matt Tabacco or I'm just guessing that Matt Tabacco and Alex are younger than Garret and Matt.
Alex is definitely older than me. I'm only 28.
Oh yeah, you're the baby then. You got to be the baby in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Wait, Alex, how old are you? Like
39.
30? No, really? That's
Wow.
like 33. Damn.
Good job, Alex.
It's the height. It's deceptive.
Yeah.
Well, I say it was the
One.
it was the many
last
years
year-
of poor
So
living that preserved me.
if Eric's the oldest one in the room, I gotta say he carries his age pretty well. Coop, I don't know what you're doing. So
Dude, dude, I can't keep up with him. I can't keep up with him. Believe me, I've traveled with this guy. I can't keep up with him. The party's always going with him. Believe me.
Eric, are you wearing a Satriel's t-shirt?
I pointed that out as soon as he got on. I saw it. Well done.
Good job.
Dude, that is
It's a possibility.
well, that's sick. I like that. Represent.
All right. Starting in hour 2, let's talk about what pretty much, was the talk of the beginning of this year, all about last year. That's obviously consensuses and top cigars of 2021. Each of you here have made your own lists, I believe. You guys do an HBTC, right, Matt and Garrett? Or no? Yes?
We
Just
didn't
a
do
nod,
one for
or-
2021.
Okay. So I can't keep track with it.
Our
2020.
network's
You
breaking
didn't do
up here. We did a list in
Yeah.
2019. We did not do a list for 2020, and we did a list for 2021. So we skipped a year.
But you did do one for last year.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. There's a little bit of delay there. Okay, good. All right. So let me ask you guys all a question as guys who have made their list or whatever. And we'll start. I don't know if the order of your screen is the same or not. This is Alex's bathroom break right here. I don't know if the order of your screens are the same as I'm looking at, but I'm just going to start with Eric because he's at the top right next to me.
That's correct.
I figured. Tell me what your biggest shocker that you saw on anybody's list for 2021.
That we saw on anybody else's list, or
Like wow, I mean, I didn't even see that one coming, or something you were really shocked to see it on anybody's mention list at all.
I would say Coop's number 1, the Rocky Patel Winter Collection. That was a shocker.
Fair enough. Matt Tabacco.
Well, Coop and I have talked about this on spare notes. Paladin Dasaka, because of its timing, was surprising to see that on 2021 lists.
Taking the timing out of the factor. Just based on something whether you've tried or you just never even heard of. What was a big surprise? Or now I'm assuming, Eric, you've heard of the Winter Collection. That's just something that would have been on your radar as a top list, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Matt Tabacco, what was a shocker for you in 2021?
I mean, to see Coop give that Winter Collection number 1, I was a little surprised. Not that I didn't think it was. I haven't had it, but I don't know. That's not the direction I saw him going with that. That's all.
All right. How about you boys down at Matt and Garrett?
What about you? I can't really say that I'm never really shocked by any of the lists. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of picks that are similar across the list. There's going to be some that some of us consider to be out of left field. But I don't really ever get shocked by the lists anymore because I think they represent a wide variety. And I think for the most part, I mean, there's a few things I kind of tilt my head and go, what? But it's their list. They can do whatever
Come
they
on,
want.
Matt, pick a side. That's a lame answer.
Tell him.
I know. Just say a name. Just give a name,
It's
dude.
very
You would
political.
He's seeing
But,
future
you know,
sponsorship dollars. He's
if we
worried.
look at
gonna rock the boat.
I love what Half Wheel does when they do their consensus article and they include all the lists, and it gives you, a real chance to find one place for all these lists. And as I went through that list, and again, I'm not trying to be super diplomatic, but there wasn't anything that I was like, that's out there. Yeah, I think
just
my
on the
closest
basis
would
that there are brands every
would
day
probably
that
have
I've
to be
never heard
Coop.
of. I'm sorry, say it again.
Oh,
Matt.
100%.
Right,
No.
there's-
I would say, the Rocky Patel was probably the one that was the most surprising, but I'm not shocked.
Well, Coop, I mean, I guess it's perfect that we left you for the end to talk about. First off, was anything that you saw on any list? You don't have to mention what list or anything. A surprise to see it mentioned in any of the top lists for 2021.
I was really surprised, and it didn't show up number one in the consensus, but it showed up high on lists. I was shocked that Alec Bradley Kintsugi showed up as high as it did on so many lists. I just didn't see that one coming, and it's not a reflection of the cigar is good. I didn't really see a lot of buzz on that cigar until the list started coming out.
But you know what, Coop? I mean, as a guy who's on a lot of social media, man, I see a lot of pictures of that cigar being smoked by a lot of people.
Maybe, but gatekeepers seem to have more buzz the year before. I mean, that was just kind of like my perception.
I think the availability of Gatekeeper in 2021 has probably messed with it.
It probably did. It probably did.
Even at TPE, I brought that up with Bradley Rubin, and even he was like, "We did not see that."
He didn't see. I had him on the show, and I said, "I think you're going to land high on the consensus," and he was surprised to hear that. We weren't surprised about Paladin de Saka, just so you know. Aaron and I predicted it was going to land high on the consensus. We weren't shocked about Undercrown 10 coming out there. Now, I want to address the Rocky Patel Winter Collection thing for a second. It was the highest scoring cigar on my reviewed in 2020. It was tied for the highest scoring cigar. We actually did a show, a roundtable show where we all smoked this cigar. And it wasn't like I actually came out and said this cigar is probably contending for Cigar of the Year. I actually came out and said, so I was a little surprised because I've been talking about it all year. But I don't think people thought I was going to pull the trigger on it per se. So I'm a little shocked to hear all the feedback on it, but I'm kind of glad that kind of shocked everyone. It kind of makes it feel good.
No, and I'll say I'm not shocked by it because I do remember watching your shows throughout the year and remember I actually bought some of those cigars, although I didn't buy the same size that you gave number one. I bought some of the Coronas, but I was very expecting that cigar was going to be number one or two on your list. So not shocked.
Yeah, I mean, Matt and I talked a lot about the year Rocky Patel had, and we think Rocky Patel had an incredible year. And I think the last 18 months they've been really. I mean, Rocky's taken a lot of lumps over the years with their cigars, and I think sometimes justifiably so. But I've seen them really turn the corner in the last 18 months, and they're just the cigars they're producing. And we haven't got the Rocky 60, which I think it showed up on the consensus this year. I think it's going to show up on a lot more lists next year. So I think
I think the Rocky Patel brands. I think the Rocky Patel brand as a whole is really relevant.
Yeah, they were our company of the year too. They were also our company of the year, though. Oh, I missed that.
Oh, I see what you did there.
What? I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
I also think that Rocky with probably another company or two are like the Nickelback of our industry. They have become a successful brand that many people find it fun to hate on.
Yeah, it's the Yankees syndrome. Somebody gets uber successful, and people make sport out of crapping all over, a brand or a team when they become uber successful.
Yeah, but what about Gurkha though? Everyone's always shitting on Gurkha though. I feel like they're more of a Nickelback.
And that's the other one.
And they had a good release this year. We smoked that Revenant when Juan was on.
Yes,
I was impressed with that cigar.
Gurkha's made a lot of changes in the last couple of years. But prior to that, I think a lot of the abuse they got as far as quality of product versus packaging of product, they kind of,
it was justifiable.
They teed it up, know. But when you do that for so long and then you start making justifiable changes, it takes a while to turn that semi around. And they're in the process of turning that reputation of that semi around. I believe that. Working with great companies like Orsa and Artista. Yeah, so I really do. What's funny is, true story, I remember sitting in Rocky's office in Naples. I can't tell you how many years ago, decades plus, probably a couple decades maybe, when he was in the process of changing his company to Indian Tobacco. And he showed me the first boxes, I don't even think they're out for sale yet, of 90 and 92. And telling me he was changing his name to Rocky Patel. And I said to him, what consumer is going to relate to a brand named Patel? And boy, was I wrong.
Wow.
But literally, I made that statement. I said, Rocky Patel. I mean, come on. And I also thought Edge was a terrible idea. 100 cigars in a big coffin. I said, this is awful. I think Rocky, out of any other manufacturer, I've probably been the most wrong than compared to any other manufacturer. Where I've looked at something and said, this is terrible.
Yeah, I think Rocky got also in, like, you go back 8 or 9 years ago when they were coming out with 9 or 10 releases at the trade show. It almost seemed like they were just throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. And I think the last few years, if you've noticed, they've kind of gotten back to a manageable amount. It's like 3 to 4, which for a size company Rocky, I think that's okay. And I think, they've gotten away from maybe that throwing something at the wall, and I think it's showing in the products right now.
Cool. I remember being in the KMA studio one year, and literally, I think it was 14.
Yeah, it was nuts.
And he was a sponsor of the show, and I was ripping on him like, this is absurd.
And I've actually talked to Rocky.
New releases.
I talked to Rocky about it, and what he had told me is, this. I think he's so excited. I think this guy really loves the industry, and it shows. And I think he's so excited to just kind of bring to market what they've been working on. I think that had a lot to do with it more than anything. But it was a lot.
Well, and
I remember that show.
How many of these brands that have a history of doing that in years past, where they came out with tons of new releases in a year? A lot of these brands are even in hindsight, it was a very smart decision. They may have not known it at the time they were making it, but so many of these brands now have predicate product in their back pocket for the future.
Sure.
Yeah, or some of it is actually predicate product they're rebranding. Maybe it's more that.
Yeah.
That's the Pandora's box and a snake hole I don't even want to go down.
Yeah.
Product thing. But how about our boy Henderson Ventura with a number 3 on the consensus
and a number 2 on the coupe?
Number 2 on But no, seriously,
I wasn't surprised about that one being high. I mean, a lot of people had that on lists this year.
Yep.
That and it was that Queen's Pearl. I mean, so a lot of people saw that. I love what they've been doing with that brand over the past few years, and when they released that Queen's Pearl and King's Gold, it took it to the next level.
How justified was our position in having to make a TGS cigar? What a timing was that?
Yeah.
After rating so high.
Good job by it. Yeah, good job.
Timing.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, PCA. How many guys going to the PCA this year? Oh, you guys going?
Yep. Oh yeah, we'll be there.
And you guys all went last year, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything you guys have heard as far as changes and what's going to come up this year? You guys are way more in tune to this stuff than I am. I mean, let's just be honest.
Not yet. I mean, there's things that are going on with the PCA. I think they had to address before the trade show, but I think you'll still, if there's anything coming, I would expect it to be coming in the next few months.
Are we expecting the same small footprint?
I don't think it'll be as small, but I don't think it'll be as big as it used to be.
It's going to be smaller just because I don't think I thought maybe one of the big 4 may come back, but I think they'll be out, so it's going to be smaller. But I think you'll see a few more folks back this year that weren't there last year. I think it's just, I think that's natural. So I think they'll be have a slightly bigger footprint, but nothing that's going to really move the needle heavy.
I already heard AJ Fernandez is not going this year.
We said that last year, and they were there, so we'll see.
Yes, true. Well, he made a press release last year and ended up going.
I mean, they worked hard last year at PCA to get some folks to come at the 11th hour, from what I understand. So I imagine they'll work it again this year.
Few brands that I know that weren't there last year that have told me a TP will be there. United will be back. Casa Cuevas will be back. Maybe McAuliffe, I think, from what I was told.
This has me concerned as a trade
hard
show
maybe.
When you have to chase people to come back. This is why my concerns for longevity of PCA. I mean, can you imagine a trade show where you're literally trying to get people, manufacturers, to come back or participate in the show?
There was a fracture, though, Abe. It was a big fracture, and I think on top of that, then you had COVID. So, look, I think, even like we were going 2017, 18, all these companies were still going. It was never a question of if they were going to be there. And now this fracture occurs. There's a bad show. The big 4 leave. COVID hits, and so I'm not surprised that they have to do it. The question is, can they sustain that? Can they repair it? And how long is it going to take to repair it?
Do any of you 4 believe any of the big 4 are coming back?
I think one will come back. I thought it might be this year, but I think it will be next year. I think there will be some movement.
Eric?
I would guess that one of them would. I kind of, but I thought maybe we'd already hear that by now.
Yeah,
so
that's me too.
Now I'm a little questioning my own, thought
Can
on
we
that.
just say, is the one you're both thinking about Drew Estate, Davidoff?
No,
Not Davidoff.
That's what I
not
was thinking.
Davidoff.
One of them for sure. I know
Not
told me
Davidoff.
specifically
Drew
we're not going.
No, Drew Estate's a no.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it really?
George is
Drew Estate's
a
a
hard no. Davidoff is a hard no as well.
Davidoff would be the only one logistically in my mind I could see coming back.
After
The only
I don't
reason
see
is
it.
because they're really the only one that's not really vested in the mass market.
But they have the appointed merchant model, so how much do they really need to be there?
Right.
That's kind of where.
If anybody comes back from the big four, I believe it's going to be Altadis.
That's who I think.
That's what I think too.
Yep, of all the big four, I think it would be that.
But the problem is, Coop, the appointed merchants are only about 200 retailers in the country, but they got big brands like Avo and Camacho that sell to everybody else.
But they're not going to release. I know, but that's Davidoff's is Davidoff gonna go into PCA with like a scaled down booth and stuff? I don't see that. I mean,
I think if they continue want to build brands on Avo and Camacho side, it's imperative for them. They don't need to build the brand on the white label side. The stuff they make sells and it goes, and it only caters to, like I said, 200 and some retailers.
So I don't want to again put words in anyone's mouth, but when I talked to Dylan, like when I interviewed him last year, it just seemed like it wasn't their plan to do this.
I think you're right. Dylan's very turned off by it, but I think business wise, it makes really the most sense for those guys to come back.
Yeah, although they do have a large online retail presence, and as we know, that's sort of one of the big contentions, right? So,
you know what's funny, Eric, is you mentioned they have an online big retail presence, but in the industry and the people I talk to, they are the most non-existent people who have an online presence. What makes you say it was a big online retail presence?
Well, they make, that's a big part of their model. They're selling their own product online, and they do well at it. And so I think that
where do you get the feeling they do well? Because the consensus from the people I talk to is they don't do well on it. Not nearly as well as they should be doing.
I mean, obviously, I don't know, but
no, I just was wondering if you knew anything I didn't.
No, I don't.
You're the first person I've heard ever say that about their online model. In fact, it's so weak, most people don't even know they have an online model.
I would say Altadis has got a much stronger, in general, has a much stronger online model.
Well, that's because they acquired uber successful businesses. To do it on your own is a big undertaking, especially when you weren't built for that. But
no, I mean, Davidoff doesn't compare to those guys. I'm just saying that's a contention. So PCA would have to address that probably to get it back,
It's a contention. It's a poor move on their part, I believe it. And I don't even know if it's really worth their time. But yeah, I've never heard anything mentioned in a very successful or like it's been doing very well for them. I just haven't. Like I said, if most consumers don't even know that they have a store, I mean, how successful is it? So I don't know. You're the first person I've ever heard say they have a big online presence. So that was very interesting to hear.
Well, I mean,
they've invested in it. I agree with Eric. They've invested in that online presence a lot.
Yeah, not only that, but there isn't even a Camacho, Camacho or Avo site anymore. You just go directly to the retail. When you go to Camacho or Avo, you go right into the retail store now. So, obviously, that's the direction that they want to go. And if PCA is saying, we don't really want to help the online retailer that much, and we're more focused on brick and mortar, then that's a contention. So,
and I wonder how much their European and Asian markets growing has to do with their involvement with anything stateside PCA.
I think it's a great point. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they've invested a lot in making Camacho and Avo more international brands over the last few years.
Dan, the trade show has been in New Orleans, I think, 3 times.
Don't go back to New Orleans.
Yeah, we had a PCA media meeting on Zoom a month ago or so, a few weeks ago, and they are constantly looking at venues, but they are locked into Vegas for the next 3 years at least. But the problem is finding another venue large enough where you can smoke. And so far, Vegas is the only viable option at this point.
I think there's a lot of. I think they are comfortable still with Vegas having it there. I mean, that's the impression I've got from talking to people. They're still comfortable with it. Obviously, they're looking at viable. I think they're also doing this because if something goes south in Vegas, at least they have other options that they can pivot to in the future. And they're doing their homework right now on that. And I think that's a good thing. But I don't think they're looking at
their analytics show that attendance is higher consistently when it's in Vegas versus other cities. So
yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Can I switch gears?
Switch away, bro.
Yeah, just
Do it.
This is like the trade show. It's being the year in review, technically show. What's the story of the year? What was the story of the year for you guys?
Ferio Tego.
What?
There he jumped right in with it.
I like
Coop's gonna have a rebuttal.
Matt, first off, Matt, do you agree with
I'm
Garret?
shocked. I'm shocked on that one. I had him as one of my top
Do I
stories. I'm not
agree
going to
with
lie.
Garret?
What's your story of the year?
Oh boy, what is my story of the year? I need a minute to think about this. Ferio Tego's up there.
Guys, our producer was like on vacation and decided not to.
I mean, I'll give you mine if you want right out of the gate. I thought it was the supply versus the supply chain issues and the supply and demand. I just think that was an internet. They had international ramifications. That's why I kind of was surprised on the Ferio Tego one.
And that's a more universally circulated story for multiple people. It's not really anyone specific.
I looked at it even industry level.
I'd say, Coop, that's a good one. I think to me the big story was the literal wave of price increases across the board, right? Like almost
you mean the tsunami?
Tsunami of price increases.
It was a tsunami, not a wave.
I don't know. None of the companies told us about those price increases.
That affects the end user probably more than any other story this year. So
that's been 50% of Alex's job in the last 3 weeks, just doing price increases.
Yeah, I mean but you can look at that, and that's just reflective, and you can make the argument same with supply chain. The inflation was driving a lot of that, so it was natural that our industry was going to take a hit. But nonetheless, it is an impact. I agree.
Now, let me ask you this: when it comes to price increases, do you think that it was in reality more companies increasing their prices, or was it just more companies sending press releases about increasing their prices?
No,
I can tell you,
they said no press releases.
As
the guy
a
who does the
retailer,
price increases, it was more price increases this year.
without a doubt.
Okay.
Because it's always this time of year. We always get them for the new year, and it was just overall more.
The price increases were never reported by the media except for about 6 or 7 companies. And I've been told from several companies that media was left off these lists. I mean, because I asked about it, and I know these companies have media lists, and
I'm sure some of them didn't want to share the news.
They don't want to share that because they were afraid of what happens with that. So the only way you found out is you had to either read Halfwheel or call the companies, and that's what Halfwheel was calling all the companies.
Halfwheel is usually pretty good with.
Yeah, they did a good job on it. I'm not saying they didn't, but yeah.
Big thing,
Alex. Let me ask you this. Sorry, Alex. Were you surprised by the amounts, the percentages of the price increases, or were they about average with what they have been in previous years?
No, some companies were higher than I would have expected. Others were, the normal. Realistically, there's some companies that you expect about $1 from, and then there were others in that range where you're like, that's.
I think that there were some taking advantage of the situation because
there were some that were higher than I would have expected.
It's not just our industry; there's every industry. A lot of people are just marking up product because they know they can right now, and they're taking advantage of that market. I think there was some of that.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, because if I remember, I think we had Eric on last year as our last show of the year. I think it was like a Dojo takeover, and we kind of talked about top stories of 2020, and one of them was this Padron Fuente collaboration. Has there been a peep about that? Has there been any update? Anything?
No.
Very quiet.
No update, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's unleashed at this year's trade show. I
we
think
said
they
that last
no, they never. I never thought it was coming to last year's trade show.
I wouldn't be surprised if it
I never thought it
comes
was.
to fruition.
I keep hearing.
I think you got more of a chance that it'll never come to fruition than you'll see it at this year's trade show.
Yeah.
I keep hearing people mumbling around saying, "Oh, the cigars have been rolled." That's what I heard, but then nothing else.
I just think last year wasn't the right year to do it for them, regardless, because there was questions. First of all, if there was going to be a trade show, and there was they were worried about a smaller footprint coming out of the lockdowns, not coming out of COVID. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But I never expected it to be at the 2021 show.
I'll be more shocked if it's there than if it's not this year.
Matt and Garrett, you guys had a little.
I think I talked to Coop about this when we were on one of the virtual herfs or something with developing palettes, or I don't remember exactly where, but I brought this up to Coop saying I have a strong feeling they're going to unveil it at the Cigar Aficionado Big Smoke.
That would not, and I said that would not surprise me if they did it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be. They do it in New York or something. It's not. They have this precedent for that happening with other brands.
I've been trying to thank Chris Donnells for what he thought was the top story of 20. He said the Great Smoke 2020, but I'm pretty sure he means the Great Smoke.
Yeah, that was on my list as well of top 12 stories, by the way. As well, Ferrier-Tego was on it too. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I just didn't think it was the biggest story.
Matt Tabacco, what was your biggest story of 2021?
I'd probably follow behind a lot of the things that Coop said. I mean, we usually seem to be pretty on par with a lot of things like that. But yeah, I mean, Ferrier-Tego also was a huge story. So I would definitely put it on the list too, at close to the top. I would say a lot of anticipation. It was, I think, the most anticipated brand of the year. I think that's the one that everyone was curious about, partly because of the concept behind it, partly because Michael Herklotz was attached to it. Then putting that together, how's it going to work? Is it going to work? What's he going to do with it?
Yeah.
I do think it was huge. I do think Great Smoke 2021 was a huge story because of the uniqueness and how well you guys pulled it off. And I think anyone who didn't participate was definitely kicking themselves after, because I think after it was over and the hubbub was going around of, oh man, did you see it and this and that. I think it definitely took off more after the event than the lead up to it. So I would agree that it should be on the list. Price increases too. I mean, yeah, a lot of good points are made. I think that the universal response to that, though, is I think everyone kind of anticipated that happening. So I don't think it was. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of traction behind those stories, but I don't think that they were completely shocked to see them happen. I mean, Abe, like you said, it was like a tsunami of the price increase stories. But Coop and I had talked about this before. And even before they all went out, it was something that we had already said before. Like, yeah, we know that's coming. So I mean, yeah, I got a lot of traction, but I don't think it was like a shocking story either.
Well, I'll tell you what's funny about the price increases. I'm not maybe as knowledgeable as some of you guys, so maybe you guys can point this out. The greatest thing that I hear, I find funny, and maybe I'm dead wrong on this, it happens, but is when they use the FDA user fees as justification for a price increase. Because correct me if I'm wrong, the user fees are based on volume, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
That's
yeah.
my understanding.
Volume.
It's based on volume. Smaller companies pay less into it. Bigger companies pay more into it, right? So once you've incorporated the user fees into your cost, which would happen the first year, why are user fees still being mentioned now 2 or 3 years later? Because I'm going to tell you what they've done. They've done in their mind, wow, our user fees went up this year. Yeah, your volume went up this year. So you made more money to pay more user fees. It didn't increase your cost per stick. So unless I'm dead wrong on this, anytime a manufacturer mentions today, well, the user fees, I laugh inside. I don't want to laugh out loud because I'm not 100% sure I'm right. But if it charges the way I'm understanding it, there's no reason why user fees at this point should be a cause for a price increase. But what they're doing psychologically is, especially some of these midline companies who don't have CFOs and real financial guys and stuff like that, I think they're seeing their user fees go up dramatically. It's because you had a killer banner last couple of years. You sold a lot of product. So you've made that money, those more user fees. So
I think it's part of it. Plus, there's other manufacturers have talked about, especially with the pandemic fallout, and a lot of the other challenges related to that back at the factories and on the farms and the tobacco that's available. Prices of material are going up. Prices, labor is going up. So, I mean, I think that needs to be mentioned because it's a huge part of it.
User fees. Has anybody heard the word user fees still being used other than myself? So then
no.
Okay, so that's just.
I try not to read those press releases.
I just want to get them. Actually. So, but the thing is, here's why I'm not really keen on the price increase of the big story yet, because most of those were communicated to the retailers at the end of the year, and we haven't seen the impact of what that's going to do in 2022.
No,
is it going to affect revenue? Is it going to affect how that's I don't know yet, or profits? I don't know yet. That's why I want to wait and see with that.
At what point do people start to stop buying?
Right.
Coop, let me clarify my answer a bit. I don't think it was a big story in the cigar media or anything. I'm saying in reality, it's one of the bigger things that is impacting the industry, even if it isn't a big story. That's my point.
Yeah, I think the thing is, the ripple effects and the impact. I think we'll see a lot more when it really starts affecting the end consumer in this year. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think the seeds have been set with it. Let's see what happens. And do people stop buying cigars? Do they start spending less on cigars? That's where I want to kind of see because if I see trends like that, that's where I'm like, you know what? These price increases had an effect as an industry for 2022. I just didn't see it for 2021. It's
interesting. I see products that I got to do price increases on, and I see these products, some of them, and I know we haven't had them in stock in the last 6 months, and we probably won't have them in stock for another 9 months. And by the time they finally get back on the shelves, they already took a price increase, and then they're going to get another one 3 months later when the new year hits again. So, a cigar that a guy probably hasn't been able to get might be $2 more expensive by the time it's finally available.
Well, I'll tell you something that I saw for the first time in 25 years. Well, first off, I just want to comment that Mickey Pegg is in our chat, and he's saying that the user fees equates to about 2 cents a cigar. I'll tell you something right now, as somebody who's received a lot of price increases and FDA user fee was used, there wasn't one price increase that poor notice about 2 cents a cigar. So let's just put that into perspective.
Well,
I'll tell you something I saw for the first time this year. Let's see who can guess what it was. Trade show order, new product. We placed the order, and there was a price increase before the opening order shipped.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Anybody have any idea?
Yes.
I know you know. No one want to take a shot at it? Very well known.
Rocky Patel.
Nope. So this is really funny. So if you place the order at the trade show.
Oh, at the trade show.
Right? There was a price on the price sheet. But there was a price increase literally months before that product's ship date. So if you ordered it as a new customer, you paid the price increase. So essentially, by the time the cigar got to market, at the same time, retailers have paid 2 different prices for this product. Paladin de Saka.
Oh, all right.
Never seen that before.
Well, I actually just thought of my number one story from 2021.
Wow, it took you long
and that was at both trade shows. There was the first time ever we saw live coverage from a new up and coming cigar media organization called How About That Cigar.
There you go, man. There you go.
Look at them patting themselves on the back.
There you go.
But I bet that pales in comparison to being on today's panel of KMA.
Oh, this it pales in comparison.
And on that same note, Matt, if we're going to go down that road, this last year was the first year we saw trade show interviews conducted in the restroom. So that's big story.
That is
epic
story.
That was great.
That was Eric. I got to give you, the creative minds. That was when you did something like it last year, but this one topped it. And Michael's reaction was just priceless. I mean, that video you shot of him walking out of it was priceless.
The mumbling as he's walking.
The mumbling was
brilliant.
Man, they're just here for the free samples, and he's right. That's why we're all at the trade show, right?
Brilliant. One of the very few times the sequel outdoes the original.
That was really good. I got to give you guys that. Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do next time though. We kind of backed ourselves into a corner here.
The best part is, can we get a courtesy flush? Has anyone ever really said that in a stall? I don't think so.
Michael's like little reactions. And this guy, he just doesn't let up. It's like,
Eric, Matt Booth had an idea for an interesting interview that you could use. He wanted to do an interview in the hotel room. In the bathtub.
Yes.
I like it.
That's not happening. That's
get
not happening.
Herclots in the bathtub with all the foam and
okay. With him, Herclots is different.
Just with the glass of wine, just
candles.
Like, I like a good soak after a long day in the trade show floor. It really helps keep me youthful.
And then I pop up in the tub on the other side.
Oh yeah! See? Oh yeah!
The party's always going on here at the dojo.
Dojo guys always taking it to the next level.
Hey, I like that. Yeah.
Eric comes out, pulls the foam away. He's like, "Oh, hey!"
Exactly. Where's my samples?
That's what he says. He comes up and he just goes, "Hey, you guys got samples in this room?"
That's classic.
Oh.
All right, so we got a full-fledged media panel here today, but let's go into now. Coop, did you prepare any news for this week?
I have one news story we could run by the panel.
Let's run the intro.
Yeah, I want
news, and then we'll let any of the other guys feel free to throw in any news that may have been missed.
Yep.
Let's see what's going on with the Scoop with Coop.
Hey, yo, what's my theme music?
The Scoop with Coop. Breaking industry news. Hear it first on KMA Talk Radio and cigar-coop.com.
All right, guys, and I'm glad the panel's here because I think this is an appropriate topic to get everyone engaged with here. And there was a statement issued this week by the Premium Cigar Association.
I found that interesting. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yep. And I think it was a big story this week where basically they issued a statement calling for responsible marketing of premium tobacco products. And specifically, they emphasized that marketing that makes the use of characters, foods, and candy associated with children's interests are never appropriate, even when targeted at an adult audience. And I thought it was an interesting topic by the PCA. I mentioned this on Thursday night show when we did it. I said I think it was a little passive aggressive because they kind of implied that this is a rare thing that happens, and they were just kind of putting it out there where we all know on this panel it's not a rare thing.
They may not know.
They know.
I don't know. I know some of the guys that sit on that panel, Coop. They may not know about it as prolifically.
So Aaron Loomis and I we did an over under. From this statement was issued February 1st, and we're predicting that there will be 50 such products. I should say we're taking the over on 50 such products that will be released in the premium cigar industry this year that basically violate that.
So I just want to be clear because as somebody who's been doing like our own little, which 2021 was also the year for, I wanted to ask at some point, I forgot, right? Store exclusives, right? But we've been doing it for now, 12 years, I think, 13, 14 years. I mean, if you go to Original Ming, probably 15 years. We've been doing, store exclusives. But this is not directed at any of those. This is directed at strictly brands that are marketing towards existing stuff that's geared for children. Is that correct?
They didn't draw a delineation, but we know that there are a lot of these products that hit the gray. Some are very blatant, like melted vanilla ice cream we saw this week come out, right? But some of the are very gray line-ish this week as well, because we saw a food release in a wonton soup container with the punch Fu Manchu, and then we saw Sunday
suey.
Gravy by Diesel.
Well, okay,
yeah.
So here's my thing: is chop suey fall into that category? Is that really geared towards kids? Because then you transcend that. Well, you might as well throw Red Meat Lovers Club in that category.
It's a gray. It falls into the gray area.
Or are we talking about stuff that literally uses children's characters that are well known and already branded, and then throwing that on a cigar packaging?
Yeah, I mean, that's one issue, but I mean, there's another one that's constantly doing these like melted vanilla ice cream and waffle cones, and those are another set of problems, I think, too. That are that. So, but the problem is the gray area. I think is really where where do you draw the line? Is the question. I
don't see why. I don't see the food references being an issue. I don't know why they would be. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we take flavors from. And not only that, even from a legal perspective, why is fucking birthday cake vodka okay, but a vanilla cigar is an issue?
Say it all
Alex,
the time.
you're right, except
all the time.
they're not under the crosshairs like we are in
right,
Washington.
and that's it.
That's the issue. Unfortunately, that's the issue.
Guys, this is a bad move by the PCA, because it's just like saying, whatever you do, don't look in that box over there. Don't look in that box. The first thing somebody wants to do is look in that box. When PCA comes out and says,
box?
don't do it. You're probably going to get twice as many this year, just because people don't like being told.
And they're going to be. I thought exactly the same thing was going to happen with them. I mean, there were 3 releases the 2 days afterwards that it was. I just found it kind of ironic, right? I mean, there are other ones we know that have had more blatant characters, and it's not just like one person doing it. There's several. So, but it's interesting to see how they follow up on this year. They said they're going to be taking a look at this throughout the year, but I don't know what comes of this.
But I don't know. So here's the thing, right? It's like an unloaded gun. What are they following up on? What are they going to do?
They are saying this is going to be an ongoing conversation where we value your opinion and feedback on steps that we can internally take to protect the premium cigar and pipe tobacco industry. PCA staff and board members will be soliciting input on this topic and many others in the upcoming months through surveys, retail visits, and focus groups, building up the release of a strategic advocacy plan at the 2022 trade show.
Right, but what are they going to do?
I'm wrong, which I could be. The people that are most, I don't want to say guilty, but the people who practice this the most of exactly what they're talking about don't belong to the PCA anyway.
But they're getting cigars manufactured by people who
they want to start going against the manufacturers that are making cigars for these people?
The problem is that, but I'm just saying it. They're still coming from somewhere.
That's a bold reach. I don't think that could ever.
It's gonna be a bold reach, but that's. It's interesting. I just thought it was interesting. Like I said, we could say that that marketing, however, but
listen. I agree with Eric. So look, in principle, I think it's tacky at best. I think the people that fall for it is, just chintzy. But I agree with Eric. I don't even know why you make a statement. All you do is you bring more attention to it. I don't see any way that the PCA can enforce it, protect it, control it, affect it on any level.
They're not gonna. They're gonna just issue their statement on it.
The guys making cigars seldom have booze at the trade show for themselves.
Making them,
selling them,
yeah, not making them. There's a difference.
Right. So what are they going to do? They're going to go to an AJ Fernandez and say, well, he ain't coming to the show anyway. But I mean, to even try to enforce something like that would only shoot themselves more in the foot of problems they're already having.
Nor should it. AJ Fernandez has the right to sell cigars too. I mean, and they're not. It's not AJ Fernandez putting the branding on. It's what I'm saying. But
no, I agree. So I mean, that's a hard reach. And considering that, I think that most of the people who are practicing this kind of business don't belong to the PCA anyway.
Well-
I wouldn't have touched it with a 10-foot pole.
Well, here's the other thing. What it was the one thing they didn't touch is, well, what about the retailers who are putting this stuff on the shelves who are your members? I mean, that's the other thing. Are you going to start going after those guys? You know,
Yeah,
I don't see it happen. I don't see it happening. I agree.
This was a clusterfuck statement.
I just want Matt Booth to put out the Room 101 match. That would be the best cigar.
And that wouldn't be marketing towards kids at all. That'd be infants.
No. Right.
Go even further.
Plus, kids don't even like mashed peas, so they'd stay far away from it. So.
That's
right.
Well, and that brings up the whole.
That is very true.
You know, it's
that
funny
brings up
because
the whole
comment, they
delineation
don't-
between adult foods and kids foods. You know, because you've got Sunday gravy from Diesel, you've got the the chop suey, and then you've got vanilla cream pie or whatever, or you've got Cookie Monster, or you've got so what?
Or is Chilling Moose Bullwinkle from Rocky and Bull? I mean, it's just, where does it end?
Right. So I understand what they're trying to say, what they're trying to express. That we don't want to, like Coop said, we're in the crosshairs and we don't want to bring any unnecessary attention that could possibly be construed as negative, or that there are companies that are making an attempt to actually market to underage people. But it's an extremely slippery slope when you start trying to regulate people's branding behavior.
Yeah, you don't. That's bad business. I agree. That's bad capitalism. I agree on that. Ultimately, you hope that the industry kind of corrects itself, but I don't know if that's going to happen either. But the question is, go ahead. My final point is, I mean, what do? Do you just keep things as is either? I don't know if that's the answer either. So, because there is a problem out there with that.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays itself out.
Yeah.
Any other big stories? Any one of you other guys want to mention and maybe you want to bring up this week? All right.
I don't know. Hey,
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, the Mombacho announcement with the new president.
Jared? Jared, yeah.
Jared.
That was
Jared from Subway?
Mombacho's Jared. Oh, nope. Not wrong, Jared. Way wrong, Jared.
Way wrong, Jared. Completely opposite, Jared, because Jared's a
I like that. But listen, hold on. I just want to be clear. That was no disrespect to Jared before anything gets misinterpreted.
No, I know. He's a good guy.
When I hear the word Jared, that's the first Jared that comes to my mind. So don't read anything into that.
I thought of Jared Trudeau from Christoph Cigars. That's what I thought of.
I think it was a big story. Although I'll say that I'm also a little. Mombacho has been sort of enigmatic for the last year or two. And I'm not sure what their direction is. I'm having trouble getting a grasp on what they're doing exactly.
Well, and then they got the cease and desist for the name.
Look,
the naming
my
thing.
best analogy is there are companies at that level who are in the tide and they're rolling in the direction with the waves are going, and hopefully sooner or later they catch a big wave. And there are companies that are just floating in a pond. And that Mombacho company is one of those companies in my universe. It's just like, okay, it's there, it's in a pond somewhere, but I don't know where it's going.
Jared Ingressano is the guy we're talking about, and folks may know him. He was with Debonair.
Oh, that Jared.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were talking about that Jared. Okay.
Yeah.
He's PRD rep. Very nice guy.
Yeah. Very nice guy. Very smart guy. I think he's been with the company a year. I'm assuming they were grooming him for this. I think he's certainly capable of doing this job. He's really a very sharp guy. So
this is not new news.
Well, he was with he was the marketing guy,
the head of marketing, head director, and now he's president.
Okay.
Now he's running the whole show, so it's all the operations there. And I assume they were grooming him for this for the past year.
Makes sense.
So yeah. I mean, like I said, he's certainly capable. I think he's a good guy and a sharp guy. So he just hasn't done something at this level before. So we'll see how it goes.
I know Coop would like Eric. You wanted to say something? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Abe. I know you had Juan Lopez on recently from Gurkha, right?
Yep.
Now I don't know if he said this on your show or not, but we had him on last night, and he said he was coming out with a cigar. He's working on a cigar with Busta Rhymes. And my question to you guys is, my question to you guys is, who's Busta Rhymes?
Really?
I mean, is that a serious question or sarcasm?
It's a little both. I'm old, man. I don't know who Busta Rhymes is.
Busta
Rhymes has been in the game a long time.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm sure.
Well, which Busta Rhymes are we referring to?
AKA just Busta?
The musician or the
One?
football player? There's a football player named Busta.
No.
I'm going to assume it's the musician, Coop.
I'm going to assume.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, I
it was.
think so. I mean, he played for the Vikings, the other Busta Rhymes.
He was posting Gurkha cigars all over his Instagram and stuff, so I'm not surprised by this at all.
I think it's a good move for them too. I think they're really trying on that. So I thought it was. I think it's a positive move.
No, I think so too. And by the way, Juan Lopez was awesome on the show last
He's
night.
an awesome guest. Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as Coop would like to see this show go on for about another 90 minutes, we work on strict timelines here. I want to thank everybody who came on. This was actually an awesome show. I'd like to do this more than like once a year. It's actually nice to have perspectives from all you guys. I know it's the toughest on you, Eric, being all the way out west, but this was actually an awesome show for me personally. I want to thank you guys all for coming on. I don't know. Well, we didn't have really any kind of format, so we just winged the topics, but I found it to be very interesting and good talking. I don't know how much of a year in review it was, but I think it was a great panel to have on. I want to thank you guys all for joining us this morning.
Hey, before we go, can we do just something super quick?
Yeah.
All right, guys, here it is. Quick prediction. Bengals versus the Rams, Super Bowl 56. I want to hear what you guys think, how this game is going to play out.
Bengals.
Wow, he was so quick on that, Matt. Matt Tabacco with the Bengals.
Yeah.
You too.
You know why? You know why? Because I got Carney texting me every day, being like, "Yo, Joe Burrow is going to be the next guy," and I'm like,
all right.
He's usually right.
He was up my ass so hard when I lost my bets on the
too.
Chiefs. He's like, "You should have listened to me. You should have listened to me." I was like, "You're right."
The Rams can fall apart. We've seen the 49ers beat the shit out of them last game of the season for the 49ers to even get into the playoffs. And I'm a little bit of a Joe Burrow guy. He's he's a cigar smoking, shit talking kind of guy.
All right, that's 2 for the Bengals. What do you got, Coop?
The Bengals have the worst offensive line ever to make a Super Bowl. The Rams are going to destroy him. I hope I'm wrong. The Rams destroy him. This game's over at halftime. Rams.
All right, what about how about that cigar, guys? What do you guys got?
I got Rams 17, Cincinnati 14.
Wow, he
I also want Cincinnati to win.
I want Cincinnati to win too.
I want Cincinnati to win, but I think the Rams just have too much. So I think the Rams are going to win.
I think Stafford is so hungry and he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yep.
I'll
let me ask you this.
No,
Oh yeah, Abe. We need Abe's.
Well, as a guy with probably the least amount of knowledge to talk on this subject in this room, you heard it here first, and I'd be willing to bet a signed $20 bill with anybody here that I predict one of the teams will win and one of the teams will lose.
That's a great. You suck. Now I gotta get the hell out of here, but I gotta ask this question.
I'll take that bet.
Is this Super Bowl a ratings nightmare?
Probably.
Yes.
It won't be the best, but LA
there's
is
no
gonna.
Mahomes, there's no Brady, there's no Aaron Rodgers.
Listen, with all due respect, let's face it. Even a ratings nightmare, it's still a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
it'll be a poorly rated Super Bowl. I mean, but
the Patriot fans won't tune in, so that could affect it.
Oh, shut up, Coop.
All right.
I'm just going to say it. Shut up.
I got to go. I know Alex has got to go. So listen, guys, thank you so much. I want to do this again this year. This was actually a lot of fun. Maybe we'll have a more outlined topic. We'll get you something early so you guys.
Maybe Paul will have a migraine next time too.
Paul won't have a migraine. Thank you to Shameless Paul for not showing up. Probably made for a much better show. Kept our screens on an even keel. And thanks to everyone who joined us for another Saturday morning. The best way to start your Saturday. We hope we entertained you, made you laugh, and started the week off kick-ass. Next week, it'll actually be Mickey Peg on KMA Talk Radio. Until then, keep it lit.